Good evening. How are you? Well, it's 82 degrees. There's a slight pleasant wind. The the air quality is 16, so that's pretty good. So all of those things are nice. Now, what is the weather on the trial contest that we have with Trump? Well, starting out with the top one, which is Judge Luce Cannon. She's moved the trial to May of 2024. I think that's too far out. I don't think that's necessary. I don't think the case is that complicated. I don't think it should take as long as the special counsel Jack Smith has said. Now, things can go longer than you predict, and lawyers predict very poorly. But in the absence of real motions and other things that take up time, let's get to the trial. Let's get to the trial. So what is the answer to this bad decision? Well, there may be an appeal down the road. I would have moved to recuse her from the start in that sense. I sort of think about these things, in the movie where they punch a guy and they shoot him 3 times and they walk away, and then you see the guy moving behind him and he's getting ready and he's coming for you. That's the judge. We had a court of appeals shoot her down because of her ridiculous rulings, and now we're back there again, and we're pretending that she's a regular judge when she's not. We know she's not. She has the imprint of Trump on her forehead, T, and she shouldn't be on the case, but she is. So I think you pay for politeness in the face of reasoned information that tells you to act otherwise. And I don't mean unnice, I don't mean brutal, I mean smart. So now, what do you think Jack Smith is thinking? Jack Smith is thinking that perhaps because of the PR and so forth, he has to try to play it this way. And that he's probably thinking, and I have the DC case, and that's the one that's going to matter. And I do agree with that part if that's what he's thinking. And I do think that if he's trying it in DC, there's an advantage there that may not exist in any district court in Florida. So that's what I see. I derive great pleasure from the fact that Alan Dershowitz in the Lake case has got to pay because the judge said you guys brought frivolous motions and I want you to pay so much. There were 3 lawyers in the case, and Dershowitz says, I was a consultant. The guy is just courageous when it comes to representing you, isn't he? So he's going to pay 10% of $122,000, and the other 2, I guess, are going to figure out how to slice and dice what they have to pay. Amazing. In the category of fees, it's kind of interesting that Cohen, a long time ago, sued Trump for $1.3 million in legal fees that he had to pay, and Trump stiffed him, and apparently now Trump has settled the case. This is the man who never settles any case. He's settling the case, and he's going to pay out pocket money. He's going to pay $1.3 million, pay him $1.3 million, pay Miss Carroll $5 million. You got to wonder about guys like this. He's such a great guy, but he keeps having to find ways to avoid paying and doing things that the law and courts require. So I think it's sweet. Good for you, Cohen. Now, what you may not know is that Trump has sued him for $500 million. I think a motion to dismiss would be in order for that. I don't know how they'll handle it, but that wasn't resolved as part of the settlement. Isn't that kind of strange? Now, shifting from Trump, mighty might, we should talk about Dylan Mulvaney. Dylan Mulvaney is a trans woman who's very popular and very engaging, and she palled with Bud Light to during the NCAA Month Mad Madness, and she did an Instagram thing that was kind of funny. And so DeSantis is attacking Bud Light for being woke. Whoa, get this, because they associated with her and promoting Bud Light, and she has an Instagram you should see, it's kind of funny. Then he thinks he can find some way to attack Bud Light. This guy should be president instead of Trump. A plague on all their houses. None of these people should be president. They're just insane. And we have enough of that, and enough bad decisions can come from good people rather than to start with bad people who don't know what they're doing and don't respect other individuals. Now, in the category of my personal outrage of the day is in Nebraska. There was a teenager, 19, and she was having trouble with a pregnancy. It's not clear that that a child was born stillborn, or they tried to have an abortion. The abortion was at 23 weeks in Nebraska. At that time, a person could have an abortion until 20 weeks. And I tell you this all by background, and they've now made it the time shorter than 20 weeks. I think it's 6 weeks. It's ridiculous, but okay. But I saw this picture of this 19-year-old in court, and they're prosecuting her for the dead child or fetus, detritus, if you will. And she's going to spend 6 months in jail and 2 years of probation. A 19-year-old. What do you think this is going to do to her for the rest of her life? What kind of people do this to a 19-year-old? It's, if these people who are running as Republicans are not trounced in everything from dog catcher to President of the United States, we're going to be dealing with this. And you know, I keep thinking, maybe you have too, of that old expression about Germany. You know, they came for the Jews, we did nothing. They came for the labor, they came for this one and that one, I did nothing. Finally, they came for me, and there was no one to help me. That's where we are. This is not a joke. And it's hard for me to believe there aren't people across the United States who wouldn't converge on that courthouse. And I'll try to remember to include the picture of the deputy, who is a towering man and very thick and older, with his hand on the back shoulder of this 19-year-old in a courtroom, and she appears to be a slight lady, and she is crying. That's what it means. The abuse of women like they're things, little child machines. You just want to get a 2x4 and, well, I don't know, you can think of a couple of things to do with it. You could sit on it. You could swing at that sheriff with it, but that would be wrong, and you shouldn't do that. And I wouldn't do it. But it's that kind of anger, that misconduct like this of an official nature is so outrageous. We're supposed to help each other. We're not supposed to frolic at the expense of a 19-year-old. And the mother who tried to help the child, that is the child being her daughter, she's just beside herself. And the kid is saying, oh, my mom had nothing to do with this. And she's worried about being separated from her family. So forgive me for going on. And I can't exactly put my finger on why this thing is so distressing, but I think it has to go with the right to be let alone for every individual, woman, man, no matter what your race, your color, your religion, any of those things. And that's not what this is. I may have mentioned before, I read Shire's book when I was in high school, The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich, about Germany. That's what this is. This is the foundation for the elimination of persons as people with rights, with a package of rights by which they're entitled. And then we watch judges do corrupt things on the bench. Not all of them. There have been outstanding examples of good judges. But we have a judge in Florida, and she's going to try to find a way to nullify that prosecution. As sure as I'm talking to you now on this road, that's what she's going to do. And she just thinks she's smarter than all of us. They always do. Arrogant. There's a higher calling here. Yes, to abuse other people, to disregard the law, to disregard the Constitution, to let a person who would overthrow our government get away with it? Really? I just think that the accumulation of what is good, as simple as Dershowitz having to pay money, people being disbarred, people being prosecuted, states beginning to move in that direction. I think these are important things, and we have to get on it. And we are. But there are still going to be terrible things like that 19-year-old in Nebraska. It's just wrong. So, I say good evening to you from my Cathedral of Trees. Whoops. That'll teach me to turn quickly. This Cathedral of Trees, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.